comfort us through this time. And you said you would send him. And right now we embrace him. Your word clearly says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are here in the midst of us. And so, Holy Spirit, we ask just to comfort the families. Comfort every one of them. And even the families that are that didn't lose a loved one, but know they were there at that time, comfort them also. And Father, I just ask right now in the name of Jesus Christ, we just welcome you here in this room. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I appreciate it. Vice President, you wanted to say, and I'd like you to say a few words, and I'd like to then introduce you to Betsy DeVos, who most of you know and some of you have met a little while ago. Mike, what do you have to say?
First off, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the families from the Department of Florida and assure you of the deepest condolences and sympathies of the First Family and our family and of the American people. As the President said last week, the American people are united with one heart, broken for what took place. But the President called this meeting for us as much to talk about what's happened in our country over the last 20 years and to find out from all of you gathered here, by listening, by learning, how we might ensure that this is the last time this ever happens. I, along with the President, am deeply moved by the stories of heroism and courage. And I'm candidly moved by the courage that it takes for many of you to be here today. And what I just want to encourage you to do is tell us your stories. America is looking on. Your president, our entire administration, leaders around the country at every level are looking on. And we want to hear your hearts today. I encourage you to be candid and be vulnerable. Share with us not only your personal experience, but what it is that you would have us to do. And just know that as the president has already taken action, he'll be meeting in this very room in the coming days with governors from all 50 states to make school safety the top priority of this administration across this country. The President and I wanted to hear from you all first. And so I want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for the courage of being willing to be here and share your hearts. And just from our families to your families, just God bless you.
Okay, that's Vice President Mike Pence in a big meeting with President Trump, and you can find that. It was earlier today. You can find that online. How are you? My name is Rusty Humphries, and we got a lot going on tonight. If you would please check in. Let us know who you are and where you are a deplorable from. We have a lot going on tonight. Sheriff Richard Mack will be here. He's running for United States Congress. This is a guy that, well, he sued President Clinton in the Supreme Court and won. He is a guy that understands guns and understands this situation as well or better than anybody. If you would please check in. Let me know who you are and where you are a deplorable from. Okay, we're going to get started in just a moment. Also, the thumbs ups, the shares. This is an excellent one to share. We're going to talk with an expert on guns coming up. Sheriff Richard Mack on his way. But first, we need to start the podcast. And by the way, if you haven't followed the podcast, you can find the podcast at Apple Podcasts. Just if you got an iPhone, you can find it right there on your phone. Just type in Rusty Humphries Rebellion. Or there's a great another great app called Radio Public that you can download on any of your phones and let people know and take a listen to what the Rusty Humphries Rebellion is all about. Let's get it started. Sheriff Mack coming up in a sec.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children. That's the last thing we want to do. That's a direct order. Do it now.
He's been put down, ripped off, cut open. Now, he's unleashed. The American insurgency starts now. This is Rusty Humphries Rebellion Radio.
Well, how are you? Welcome, my brother from another mother. How are you? My sister from another mister. Hello, welcome. My name is Rusty Humphries. And this is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. We are powered by right-wing news. You can see us on Liberty One TV and lots of other great Facebook pages and websites. RustyLive.com is a good one. And also, if you would please support the show by downloading the app HearMeOut. The HearMeOut app, if you would download that app, I would sure appreciate it. Why? Because I don't trust these big-time social media companies. They are censoring us at every stage. Every day it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so the only way to beat them, number one, share this video. Let me know what you think. Engage, participate. Thumbs ups, the hearts, the comments, they all make a big difference. But then download the Hear Me Out app to your iPhone or your Android, and then follow me, Rusty Humphries. It's like Twitter, except you talk. It's fascinating, it's fun, it's interesting, and it is one that I don't think will be censored on. So please download the Hear Me Out app and do it now. It doesn't work on your computer, just on your phone. Okay, so do that now if you would, please. Let's do a quick check-in on who we have here, and then we're going to call Sheriff Mack and see what's going on. Josh thinks banning bump stocks will lose votes. That's what President Trump is suggesting right now. Wayne is there. Steve is there. Kathy is there. Jody's there. Sharon is there. Matthew thinks no new gun laws. Patricia is there. Amen, amen. Good stuff. Kara's there. Gary's there. Here is the one proposal that would prevent shootings like this in the future. Repeal gun-free zones across the country, allowed security guards, administrators, teachers, and parents to protect their students by having guns. I agree with that. We'll talk about that. Jones doesn't care much for bump stocks, but any ban will open the door for more bans. Elizabeth, Lakeland, Florida, is in the house. Is that right, Elizabeth? Tell me what you think, Elizabeth. How are you? Obviously, you're upset, as we all are. There's a lot of people with a lot of conspiracies, and I don't like them. We're going to get into that coming up in a little bit. Veronica thinks, I wish the photographers would show some decency and stop shooting while they speak. You know, that's what the politicians want. They want that clicking sound. It makes them sound like they're important. Before I go to Sheriff Mack, I pulled out a case. Got a case here. I'm not a big gun guy. I mean, I respect them, but I'm not somebody that knows everything about them. I'm not an expert in any means. One of the reasons why we're having Sheriff Mack here. Now, by the way, I did check these before I pulled them out and made sure they're all not loaded and did all the right things you're supposed to do. This gun was purchased 1 month, maybe 2, before my father was killed in Vietnam. He told my uncle if something should happen to him to give this to me on my 18th birthday, and he did. Fired it a few times. Very important to my father, this gun here. This is a Walther PPK. I got it because James Bond uses it. It's a pretty good gun. Got the safety there. Yeah, it's real. This is a Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum. Dirty Harry's favorite. That's why I got it. Go ahead, make my day. It's interesting. Not one of these weapons have ever gone off without me pulling the trigger and having a round in there. None of them have ever killed anybody. Not one, by the way. Find that interesting. Keep it in a case. Keep them prepared should anything happen to my family, something bump in the night, I'm ready. This is my AR-15 that was given to me as a gift, made in the great state of Arizona, as you can see here. Oh, it looks scary and dangerous. You know what it isn't? It isn't an assault weapon. By the way, this has never shot a human being. It's never gone off on its own. And when there's no rounds in the weapon, it doesn't fire. At least never has for me. But, oh, this is scary looking. So a lot of people think it's scary looking, so it must be real dangerous. Okay. Like I said, I'm not an expert. Martha's there. Peter's there. Jack thinks we need to eliminate gun-free zones. Luke, Josh. Janice says it's sad that this has happened. Stricter gun laws do not affect the criminals with guns. So to me, this is a pointless attempt to go after the guns, go for unstable people to keep them from getting guns. I don't disagree with that at all. Sheriff Richard Mack is a friend of mine. He's a good man, and I want to give him a quick call. And I want to see what he thinks about all this craziness. He's running for Congress, by the way, in the state of Arizona. Oh. There we go. I'll give you a second to get on there. Sheriff, okay. Hi, are you ready?
You bet.
All right. Sheriff Mack, Richard Mack, how are you, my friend?
Well, it's been a great day, Rusty, so we're doing great. Thank you.
Why has it been a great day? I know you're running for Congress in Arizona.
Well, I started the day this morning at 5:15 being on a radio show out of New Jersey.
Okay.
And they wanted to talk about the shooting, of course, and or the killing and murders, I guess we should call them. It wasn't just a shooting. I go shooting all the time, but this was a murder. And so I thought I was going to get in bad time and be in enemy territory because it was New Jersey.
Right.
They have some of the stupidest gun control laws in America, as you well know.
Right.
So, but this lady, her name's Taylor. I don't remember the name of the show. I've been doing too many shows lately. I can't remember it all. But she was all on my side. She says she's from originally Nevada. And when I said, a lot of people gasp on this, but I'm going to tell you the solution is we've got to arm the schools and have trained teachers and former law enforcement and military, such as myself and others in our school, be ready to defend the school. And what are we supposed to do while we wait 5 to 10 minutes for the cops to get there?
See, that's what I always say. What I say is, okay, teachers, you don't have to do it. But if you want to make a couple extra bucks, you take a class, and then nobody knows. It's like Russian roulette. So you walk into there, you don't know if 10 teachers have guns or one or none, right? Isn't that a smarter way to do it?
Well, of course it is. And for anybody to say, no, we shouldn't have guns in the school, but we can't wait to get the cops here with their guns. I mean, to me, that makes absolute no sense whatsoever. I mean, right. I can't even fathom how stupid that is. And say, well, okay, look at me. I'm a former police officer, a former sheriff, and I know how to handle myself in a situation like this. But we've got another former military that's actually been involved in shooting situations, is very well trained. He could probably train the rest of the school. And, I've never been involved in the 20 years I was in law enforcement. I've never been involved in a shooting.
Really?
But, no, I never was. I came close a couple of times, but I never was. But he has. He's been in them. And so to have us there in the school and to have us unarmed, unprepared, and try to hide the kids in a corner.
Right.
And pray that they don't get shot. That's just, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. And I wonder when we're going to wake up.
Yeah.
Some of these people are saying, when are we going to wake up and have full-scale gun control? I'm just wondering when we're going to have the courage to defend ourselves and shoot back, for God's sake.
All right, this is Sheriff Richard Mack. He's running for Congress in the state of Arizona. Now, there's one thing, just so people know a little bit more about your resume and remember your stuff. There's a story that years ago you went to the Supreme Court and fought Bill Clinton, didn't you? What was that story?
Well, yeah, when it was the Brady Bill, and of course, as you recall, the Brady Bill was Bill Clinton's all-star legislation that he was pushing for years. In fact, you might not remember this, but my wife and I were watching television, and I believe it was the day that he signed the Brady Bill into law, and we weren't concerned about the Brady Bill at that point. So this was like November of 1993, and he said, the Brady Bill is going to make us so safe in this country.
No, hold on. You got to do it right. The Brady Bill is going to make us so safe in this country. I'll tell you what, it's going to be as safe as Monica Lewinsky and her word of honor. Sorry.
And let me finish the punchline for you, so you can do that too. And he goes, it's going to make our streets so safe that even our nation's police officers won't need to carry guns anymore.
Oh, come on. He didn't really say that. Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Oh, come on. That's funny. Now, okay, so, I mean...
I sued on that. I sued because the BATF came to a sheriff's meeting. They told us that the sheriffs in this country had to enforce the Brady Bill, and I said, hey, you guys, I don't work for you. None of us work for you. How do you think you can tell us what to do on this?
Quickly, what would the Brady Bill have done? And for folks who don't know, Brady was his press secretary for Reagan, who was shot. And it was another horrifying thing. It happened all in front of us, on TV. So we wanted to do something back then. But what would this Brady Bill have done? How would it have affected my life?
Well, Reagan was shot in 1981, and this was passed 12 years later.
Okay.
But it still was pursuant to that, yes. And James Brady didn't hardly support it at all. It was all Sarah Brady, his wife. She was the muscle behind this whole push. And so this was the first time in history that the federal government, Congress, President, promulgated legislation that commandeered the office of sheriff for federal bidding without any contract, without any input, no negotiation. And get this. People don't even believe me when I say this, but you can look it up yourself. They threatened to arrest us if we failed to comply.
Huh.
I kid you not. So we're facing a 1-year jail sentence, $10,000 fine, or both, just because we tell the federal government we're not doing it. So I think they were afraid we were going to be lazy.
Right.
And just not do it.
Unlike illegal immigrants coming through. But what kind of things did they want you to enforce?
Okay, we had to do all the criminal history and mental history background checks of everybody in our county who wanted to buy a gun.
Okay, now let me just play a little devil's advocate. Would that have saved what happened in Florida had they done that with that kid?
You're not very good at devil's advocate.
Okay, why?
Because he passed every background check, and most people do. And the background checks, since they've started, in 1994, the Brady Bill background checks did go into effect. My lawsuit didn't stop that.
Okay.
What we stopped was something even greater, and that was overreach by the federal government, especially the Clinton administration. So I just told them, I'm not doing it. I sued them. I won, took it all the way to Supreme Court, and I won.
Huh.
Now, as far as background checks, don't you have, or don't your listeners or anybody in this country have a little bit of a problem with the federal government coming in and initiating gun control through this thing and this practice called background check? Now, how do they do gun control with that? Well, it's real easy. They tell us if you don't subject yourself to what we call a bona fide, effective background check, you can't get a gun.
Right.
You're no longer allowed your Second Amendment right. I'm sorry, I got a problem with that.
Okay, I got this very scary looking AR-15 a couple of years ago, made in Arizona, as you can see there, Sheriff. I know you want to be an Arizona congressman.
Yeah, I got me one.
Okay, first of all, is this an assault rifle?
Well, to some people it is, but
I mean, from what I understand, it just looks scary as opposed to it being really, really. It's military style is another one I see in the.
Right.
It's to me, it's like military style because it looks scary. Is that kind of what it is?
Well, it does scare people, but especially people who don't know anything about the gun.
Mm-hmm.
But Rusty, if it's just that we're going to get rid of the scary guns or the mean guns or the assault type weapons, well, you know that people get killed with pistols 10 times more than rifles. In fact, it's more than that. It's more like 50 times. And so they keep saying, well, we're not trying to take away your pistols. We're not trying to take away your Second Amendment rights. That's exactly what they're doing. We already have 22,000 gun control laws in this country, and every time, just as Billy Bob Clinton did, they promise us it's going to make us safer, and it doesn't.
Okay. Well,
It never works. And so, what do they say? Well, we got to do more.
I got my so you're saying I got my 357 Magnum, Dirty Harry's gun right here.
Yeah, I like that gun.
This is a good one. It's heavy though. It's heavy.
But that's an assault. That's not an assault rifle. That's not. So that's okay to have.
This one's okay.
Yeah, because it's not an assault rifle.
But for now, it's okay. Once they go and get the AR-15s, then well, golly jeepers, we got to get rid of them, right?
Now you've gone too far.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I hear is, well, golly, they got rid of all the guns in Australia. And since they did that, man, it's all fine and dandy there. That's heaven now. There's no gun crimes at all. What's the truth of that?
Well, the truth is the first year they did that, all their aggravated crimes went up about 70 to 125%. I don't know if they've leveled off since then. I really haven't checked it lately, but I have checked with several Australians that I know, and I've actually been interviewed. It was about 3 or 4 years ago on ABC, which is Australian Broadcast Corporation.
Okay,
they actually came to Arizona and interviewed me, and it was clear that gun crimes had increased after they confiscated all the guns. But it was like I was telling some of the kids in my high school class today. You can point at countries that have total gun control, that have more crime than the United States, and you can point at some who have total gun control who have less crime than the United States. So what determines it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I do know that one country that requires every home to have an assault rifle in it is Switzerland. And they have, the lowest crime rate and gun violence anywhere in the world.
I thought they only gave out the Swiss Army knife. Is that it's more than that, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Israel's another one where you have to be in the military and have a gun. People walk around the streets. You know, one of the things I saw a great video today where they kind of looked at Australia and they looked at America and they said, you're not really comparing apples to apples here. We've got 300+ million people in America. They got about 30 million. So what you should do is take a look at the top 5 states that are most free with gun laws, states like Arizona and Oregon and places like that, and compare those. Australia has 1 murder per 100,000. And those 5 states that have the best gun laws, that we would consider the best, have 1.6 per 100,000. But you throw in the states that have the strictest gun laws, your California, your New York, your Washington, D.C., and it goes up to 4. So it skyrockets with those places that have higher and more strict gun control.
Right. And so you probably should have thrown Illinois in that 3 or 4 states there. But then I still hear people saying this, well, Chicago and New York and Washington, D.C., they're all doing fine. It's just that when their thugs and their gangbangers go and buy guns in other locations and come back to Chicago to commit all this violence.
Right.
So their gun laws aren't even responsible.
Right.
Well, then how about the places where they actually can go and get them, like in Arizona, where we have complete no permits required. You can get a gun. You can carry it open or concealed, however you want. Do you remember the first state that went concealed carry permit?
No.
It was Florida.
Is that right?
Yeah, and everybody was yelling and just screaming, oh, there's going to be a bloodbath on our highways and our freeways, and everybody's going to be shooting each other like the Old West. And then it never happened. And you know what? These people never come back and go, oh, well, I guess I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we still have, how about the 2 incidents, one in New York and one in Nice, France, where they used a truck to kill people. And man, it was faster than guns. They run over dozens of people all at once.
And there was a story recently about somebody using a knife in China, right? I mean, this is...
Yeah. So get rid of the knives, get rid of the vehicles. And you know what? It's still... 100 times safer in our schools than it is to be on our roads.
Right.
We kill 55,000 a year on our roads, so nobody's saying get rid of the cars. And look, I understand people's emotional response to what just happened in Florida. I do, and believe me, if it had been my child or my grandchild, I would be really upset and very emotional. So I don't want to downplay any of that.
Yeah.
However, I don't want, as a peace officer and as a sheriff, I don't want to tell people gun control is going to make you safer when I know darn well it's not. I'm not going to lie to people.
Right.
Simply not going to lie. And if they really want to be safer, then they need to be able to be trained in the safest tool and most effective tool to defend yourself with. And that's a firearm.
Right. And I mean, that's, the Lone Ranger, you used to call it the peacemaker. That's what it was. It's there to keep peace. It's there to stop to make the bad guy scared from doing something bad. All right. Well,
let's remember that too.
Yeah.
Every time, I mean, it's 90% of the time that these thug lunatics shoot up a mall or a theater or a school or the Vegas Strip.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a person with a gun gets close to them, whether you're firing at them or not, if they believe a gun is close, they kill themselves. And so what happens then if we use that statistic? What needs to happen? They need to see and feel and hear a gun immediately.
Right.
And so I'm sorry, but that's just a statistic that none of us can argue with.
All right, Sheriff Richard Mack here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. By the way, if you have any questions, you can type them right there. I'll read some to them. You're running for Congress. You've run for sheriff before. Now it's running for Congress. How is that different than running from for a county office? Now you're running for a congressional seat. How's that different for you, and why would you do it?
Oh, well, to be quite honest with you, Rusty, you brought it up at the very beginning of the show. And why did I sue the Clinton administration when I was a sheriff? Why am I the only person in American history as a sheriff to sue the federal government and win? And we're talking about taking on the Clintons here.
Right.
I actually sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it. That's a miracle in and of itself.
Yes.
And so I did it. The reason I did it is because I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. I did it for liberty. I'm running for Congress for liberty. Yeah, the politics is 10 times worse than running for sheriff.
Whoops, you must be touching the microphone on your phone there. Be careful with you'll lose you for a second. Okay, go ahead.
And it's the politics of it is something I don't like,
mm-hmm.
but I love people and I love my country, and I know I can do this. First, I know liberty and I know the Constitution more than all the other candidates put together, and there's 12 candidates running for this seat.
But does anybody in D.C. care about liberty and the Constitution anymore? That's old white guy stuff.
No, you're right. That's why I'm running.
Mm-hmm.
I want to restore the Constitution. I want to make it part of political correctness. Political correctness has already destroyed our Constitution. And so we've got to have constitutional candidates there, people who really know and believe in the Constitution and in our founding fathers and in the foundational principles that this country was based on.
All right, Sheriff Richard Mack. By the way, if you want to, let's see, Martha thinks they need you in Congress. Let's see.
She's right.
She's right. Now, you had two candidates that were people that were establishment candidates who are pretty much, you'd consider them rhinos, and all of a sudden, in the past couple days, four rhinos?
Four rhinos.
But two were kind of like doing well in the polls, and then all of a sudden, there's some scandals a brewing. Can you talk about that?
Well, one is Debbie Lesko, who was kind of considered in the lead, and it looks like she may have used some of public funds to help fund her political PAC.
Oops.
And so she could be facing criminal charges if all that pans out. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but Phil Lovis has put it out tonight that she could be in real trouble, and I'm just kind of copying some of his stuff.
Phil's a good guy. You have
Phil
no,
is.
I like Phil.
I really like Phil. He's a good man, and I think he's really honest, and he has integrity, and he knows what's up.
Okay, now he's not the guy. There's another guy that's supposedly doing a little something with one of the people on the campaign, and we're not talking about 6 years ago. We're talking February.
We're
it's
talking
still February.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's Steve Montenegro, and at least 8 different politicians from across the state, including the ex-governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer, has asked him to step down because he's now having his own sexual scandal that caused this seat to be open in the first place. And so Steve and Debbie, both of them, need to step down. If she's done anything close to what Phil Lovis is accusing her of, then she needs to step down and let Phil and me battle this out.
Is there at this point, Montenegro is saying, "See, I knew they'd come after me because I'm a Republican Hispanic."
He hasn't said that yet, but he is.
Oh no, he has. That was in his press release.
Oh well, and then of course he's playing the race card.
Yeah.
So, none of us have ever known what color Steve is. He's been successful here in this state. This state doesn't care what color he is. I don't care if he's from El Salvador or Mexico. I could care less. I think he's done a decent job in the past, except he's made several blunders, and he's a typical politician that just won't accept responsibility and accountability for what he's done.
Right.
And
here's one of the things that I hate early voting. It's one of the things Democrats love. Get out there and vote as early as you can. It's so awesome. Well, at some point, some candidate's going to go and shoot somebody in the head, and, everybody will already have voted for him, for example.
Right, and that's what this has been. And it's really unfair, especially in this particular race, because we had to get our signatures turned in January 9th. And then that left us 6 weeks to campaign. Well, 3 weeks, just 2.5 weeks later, they did early voting. And I still want to be campaigning. I want to campaign until next Tuesday because the election is next Tuesday, a week from yesterday. And this isn't fair to the candidates. It might make voting easier for these people, but it's not fair to the candidates. And especially now with these recent developments, it's really not fair to us.
All right. Jason wants to know, Sheriff Mack, he wants to know, what do you think of immigration, legal and illegal immigration, and what do you think of the wall?
Well, I have proposed, and I'm the only candidate to propose this, that we put a moratorium on all immigration until we get this figured out. And I mean all of it. No legal, no illegal, no immigration to America. And I believe that if we did that, it would force the Democrats and the Republicans to come together and work out a system that would be fair and equitable for everybody.
It's funny. I called for that on September 12th. I said, you know what? We need to have everybody go home that's here on a visa. We got to clean up our house. Just like if something happened to your house, it burned down, you had a foreign exchange student, you'd say, you got to go home. You can come back, maybe, but you got to go through the right system. Is that kind of what you're saying too?
Well, it is. And I'm really against the Dreamers and DACA people who want to be put in front of the people who are trying to come here lawfully.
Right.
What about the Mexicans and Guatemalans and Argentinians and anybody else from Latin America who've been trying to come here for years, and then we put DACA Dreamers ahead of them? That's not fair. And it's not.
And let me ask you this. Here's what I hear from all the politicians. It wasn't their fault, Sheriff. They came here through no fault of their own, and they came here. Well, wait a second. My daughter is under the age of 18. I'm her parent, so I'm legally responsible for her. I make the decisions for her life. The parents knew they were committing a crime. The parents knew what they were doing, and it's not our fault as Americans that the parents may have lied to the kids and said that they were citizens of the United States of America.
Well, very good point, and you're absolutely correct. And there's one other aspect of this. I look at things as a law enforcement officer, as a sheriff, as a detective. And I'm telling you, after spending 20 years in law enforcement and working around law enforcement for the last 35, 40 years, I can tell you that crimes have consequences. And I'm sorry that they do, but that's a fact of life.
Yeah.
Sometimes these consequences are really sad and tragic, and this is one of them. But if somebody breaks into my home, I'm not telling them that their kids can stay. It's ridiculous that we even think that that's appropriate. It's not.
Okay, let me ask you something else. When I was a youngster and I would get in trouble, I remember one time I got stink perfume and I got a whoopee cushion and I went behind one of my parents' friends at a cookout and I dropped the stink perfume and did the whoopee cushion. He picked me up by my upside down and whooped me in front of everybody, okay? I remember in 6th grade, I called Kenny Appletoft the popcorn pig. We got in a fight. I got swatted. They called my parents. I got 5 swats from the principal.
Yeah.
I never called Kenny Appletoft a popcorn pig again, nor did I use the stink perfume again.
No.
Today, kids walk into school and they know nobody can do anything to me, and I'm going to push a teacher around if I want to, and I'm going to lip off, and I know I can do any damn thing I want because no one's going to do anything to me because I'm a juvenile.
Right.
Is that not part of the problem here?
Well, it is, and certainly kids have gotten away with so much and continue to do that. And then they blame everybody else for their problems. There's just no accountability at home. There's not a lot of, I would say, parenting at home. And that's really where all this starts. We've got to restore the homes and restore the family. You know, I'm looking over across my desk here at an award that I got from the Firearms Industry of America. And it's called the Cicero Award. Isn't that a great award? Cicero.
Mm-hmm. Speaking.
And on that trophy, it says, protection of the family should be the highest law. And we've gotten so far away from that. We are so ignorant of the principles that America was founded upon. Nobody knows and understands the Constitution. Nobody understands the rule of law. No one understands individual liberty. And certainly, Republicans and Democrats alike do not understand deficit spending and how dangerous that is, and how dangerous $21 trillion in debt is to our economy. And this disaster is caused by both parties.
Sheriff, how can that be a big deal? All we got to do is print it. We print our own money. So how does...
Okay,
unfortunately, that's how a lot of people think, isn't it? Especially in D.C.
Well, yeah, people in D.C. say it. So if it's no big deal, then why are we all still paying income tax? Why don't they just add it to the national debt and leave us the hell alone?
Mm-hmm.
If they're really serious about that it's no big deal, then let's stop paying income tax. In fact, stop paying all taxes to the federal government and just let that, instead of 1.3 trillion added to the debt every year, make it 2.5, make it 3, and leave us alone.
Yeah. All right, Sheriff Richard Mack here. I'm running short of time, but I've got a few more questions. Let's get some questions very quickly. What are your thoughts about allowing good people in all 50 states to carry concealed and maybe over state lines?
Of course. Reciprocity should be there between the states. And I don't care. You can tell New York and the idiot mayor there, and you can tell New Jersey for me and the idiot mayor in Chicago that once I am cleared to have a driver's license in Arizona, I can do the same with my license to carry a gun in their states as well.
Yeah.
And that reciprocity doesn't exist just shows you how stupid some of these other states and governments are.
All right. By the way, have you shared this video? This is an important one. Sheriff Richard Mack needs to be heard. Share this video. Share this video. Share the video. Let people see what Richard Mack has to say. This is important. Share the video. Let people know what you're saying. Or if you're listening to the podcast, let people know about the podcast and share it. All right. Corey asks, as a 22-year-old conservative, how do I get to where you are in life, Sheriff?
Start studying the principles of that made our country great. Start studying the Founding Fathers, the Federalist Papers. become very familiar with the Declaration of Independence and what the founders' intent was. And remember that part. Study and know the intent of the founding fathers. I teach that in my classes to my high school class. Just so y'all know, I'm a high school teacher right now. And yes, I'm running for United States Congress. If any of you want to see that, it's at sheriffrichardmack.com.
Right.
Sheriffmack.com. And that's a great question. I really appreciate his humility and desire to grow into an American. So yes, study the foundational documents, study what the founders said, and make sure you know and understand their intent, especially when they wrote the Bill of Rights.
All right, sheriffrichardmack.com. By the way, there was, I know what city you live in, and the high school named after your city, I don't want to say it right now, the high school named after your city, the students walked out today in protest of the shooting and that we don't have enough gun control. What would you say to those kids?
Well, I would say, do you really know and understand what you're saying?
Well, they're going to go, yes, of course. We're the smartest people in the world. We have Google.
I know. Okay, so could I ask you to consider a couple other things? And that is, did you know that gun control in the United States of America is against the law? And can we, as a people, ignore the Bill of Rights, ignore what the Founding Fathers established, ignore the rule of law in order to find answers to violence in America today?
But don't we have to do something, Sheriff? We got to get rid of the guns because guns hurt people.
Yeah, I agree that we need to do something, but doing the wrong thing is not going to help. And so let's take it easy here a minute, and let's know and understand what we're really doing here, because you're actually emulating the same rhetoric that Stalin, Lenin, Hitler, Castro all used in their countries that killed hundreds of millions of people if you total up all those countries together.
Right.
And so, come on, I love you guys. I think what you're trying to do to bring about change is admirable. But let's be real about this, and let's not be lawless ourselves in trying to find answers to lawlessness in Florida.
Right. Okay. Somebody, and I don't want to put anybody's name on this particular one. One of the mistakes I think we conservatives do is sometimes we're a little bit quick to the conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And there's the conspiracy theory now that this is a false flag, and there's this one kid whose dad is in the FBI, and that he's a paid actor. I don't buy it.
No.
Here's what I think of that kid, and I'll get your take. I think that kid is a media hoe. He wants to be on the news, is really, really bad. He happened to be there. As soon as he saw something going, he started doing reports, and guess what? When I was in high school, I would have done the same thing. So I don't believe he's some paid guy from Soros. If I did, I'd tell you. I just don't buy it. What do you think?
No, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Certainly Soros is capable of doing that, but I don't buy it this time either. And I can't really specify a time when something this heinous was fabricated. Mm-hmm. I know that people said that about Sandy Hook. I'm not going there either. I'm not going there with any of it.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that I believe, just like Sheriff Grady Judd in Florida and another good sheriff, I think it was is it Smith in Ohio, that believe that we need to arm our schools and have security there and really defend ourselves against the lunatics who want to come in and do this.
Right.
And to make us all easy targets, look, and I'll tell this to the students in Gilbert or in Florida or whatever. Do you know that if it's impossible to take away the guns because there's 350 million, and you're talking about an impossibility. People are not going to give up their guns. It's going to create more violence. And so let's be real. If somebody could guarantee me that you could take all the guns and throw them in the bottom of the ocean, I'll let you have mine. Mm-hmm. But if you can't make that guarantee, I'm going to keep my capability to shoot back and to protect you. You act like if there's not gun control, that you're going to be more vulnerable. The opposite is true.
Right.
If there's gun control, you're going to be more vulnerable, and you're going to create more violence.
Well, they could say, well, gosh, we'll just have the police go from house to house and get all the guns out of people's houses. Can you imagine that day where people start rounding up, cops going through people's houses looking for guns?
Now, Rusty, you and I have talked about that conspiracy theory for decades.
Yeah.
And it's already happened in some places. Chicago's already done that. And other places have done it, like New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. They did it and beat up an old lady because she wouldn't give up her gun. This Gestapo-type Nazi tactics are wrong. They're immoral. They're misdirected. And they're illegal. No, we have plenty of proof that gun control does not work.
Jerry says Jim Jones killed 918 people with Kool-Aid. Let that one sink in. It's a good point.
Well, yeah, and we could go after cars, we could go after trucks, we could go after Ryder trucks. It was the truck that was used to bomb people in Oklahoma City. I'll tell you what, we just really have a hard time with accountability and responsibility in this country.
Right. All right, the election is coming up. Is it too late to help your campaign? Is it too late to donate?
Oh heavens, no! You can donate all the way to Election Day on February 27th, next Tuesday. But the sooner we get it, the better off we're going to be, because we're just going to increase our ads on radio and increase our flyers to be mailed out.
Okay, so this is a very, very important race. There are 4 rhinos in this race, 12 people running, and it is a district that we don't want to lose. We can't lose another Republican seat because it doesn't look good in the midterms right now.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And I'll tell you, I want to clarify my 4 rhinos. Phil Lovis is not one of the people I call a rhino.
No, he's a good dude.
There's still plenty of other rhinos, but it's not Phil Lovis. And seriously, if I was not running, I would be voting for Phil Lovis.
Okay. All right. Sheriff Richard Mack. It's sheriffrichardmack.com.
That's it.
All right. It is
you spell sheriff right.
I know. I always spell it wrong.
1 R, 2 Fs.
Okay. And by the way, I did not shoot a sheriff, and I didn't shoot the deputy. Just want to get that out there. All right. Sheriff, I appreciate you. You've had a long day. Go back, take it easy with your lovely wife.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. That's Sheriff Richard Mack. He is a good man. And you know what? He's one of those guys you should support. I definitely would encourage you to support a guy like Sheriff Mack or Phil Lovis, like he suggested. They're good people. Okay, where is this sheriff? Barbara wants to know. Arizona, and he's running for Congress right now. It's the seat where the congressman offered his assistant $5 million to have a baby for him. So he had to resign. Yes, Richard Mack, M-A-C-K. Jeannie says, Richard Mack, I hope you win. Leona says, hi, Rusty. Hey, Leona, how you doing? See, we have people over here. Do people want to give up guns? Says Wanda. Karen says, look to Australia to see the effects of gun control. It doesn't work. It does not work. Brenda's in Illinois. She's a deplorable. She knows gun control doesn't work there. It's a disaster. Lived in Chicago. It's a disaster there. Disaster. Okay. Have you done me the honor of downloading the HearMeOut app and following me, Rusty Humphries? It's so important. Every single day, another conservative company is in big trouble. I know of a company where a bunch of my friends worked, and they lost a large percentage of their workforce the other day because of these major corporations that are censoring conservative speech. This is not a drill. This is really happening. So you got to follow me on the Hear Me Out app. Here, like listen, me as in me, Rusty, out. Download it to your phone and follow me, Rusty Humphries. Find me hashtag Rusty or Rusty Humphries, no space in between there. And follow me. And if you follow me and type in hashtag Rusty, I'll follow you. It's like Twitter, but they are not censoring speech. So please join me there, would you please? Also follow nice folks at Right Wing News. Find me on Facebook. Look for me, Rusty Humphries. Find me in a blue shirt. And follow me there if you would, please. And make it come up first, or else you'll never see it the way things are going. Joshua says, you won't take the guns out of the South. Diane is watching from Washington. Good. William says, am I not at the CPAC conference? Nah, I don't want to go to CPAC this year. I've been there. I've done that too many times. Bernie checking in. Forrest there. Yep, censors can't share anything about abortion either. That's right, Barbara. All right, that's it. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, Thursday, here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion.